Yeah, it's not probably not, right? I'm an addict named Rudy.
Hey, Rudy.
So I'm going to start this off by a quote from the big book, because that's how we follow this over here. So it says in page 492, those events that once made me feel ashamed and disgraced now allows me to share with others and how to become a useful member of a human race. All right. I got to stand up. First and foremost, right? You guys make me nervous, right? You guys make me nervous, but I'm over here to let you know, right, that the same feelings that you have when you want to raise your hand and you don't want to share, I go through the same shit 5 years later, right? I go through the same exact thing. The only thing that I have a little trigger in my mind that I say, man, fuck it, and just put my hands up and I share. So it might seem like it's really easy for me to speak wherever I'm at, whether it's over here, over there, it doesn't even matter. Whenever I'm requested to do something, I share, and I share my experience cold-heartedly because it makes me feel good afterwards. But does not mean that I don't get nervous when I first want to come up here, especially with this big crowd, because at the beginning of the day, I called him up, and I was like, it's raining, bud. He was like, yeah. I said, all right. And then I said, yo, it's raining again, right? He's like, yeah. When I have a big crowd, right? But it didn't turn out to be that way, right? So the more people started coming in, I was like, holy shit. You know? But here we go, right? See, the reason why I say fuck it, because I got nothing to hide. Because you know what? I'm not remixing this shit or nothing, but I'm going to tell you exactly how it is and how it went, right? You know, pain is part of life. Pain is what helps us grow. And that's the shit that got me where I'm at today, right? So with 5 years and 6 days, right? I'm going to tell you exactly how I got it, right? I was born here in the United States, and I was raised in the Dominican Republic, right? You know, I really wanted to go, before I say that, I really wanted to, you know, I was going to share some other stuff, right? But that's why I don't practice what I'm going to share. I'm just going to speak freely, right? And if it hurts your feelings, then call a sponsor. If you don't have a sponsor, please get one after the meeting, right? You know, and they will tell you what it is, right? You know, I thought this meeting was going to be smaller, and I thought it was going to be some stuff, but I see a lot of newcomers, a lot of people celebrating new things, so you know what? You know, I got to share my story, because a lot of people haven't heard it, right? So, I was born here, right, raised in the Dominican Republic, right? You know, at a very young age, right? You know, the first feeling that I had that really turned my whole life around was rejection. Right? Why was rejection, right? Because I was raised with my grandfather, right? And my mother was over here. My whole family was migrating to the United States. So I had a lot, you know, when I was over there, because Dominican Republic is a third world country, even this to this day, right? So only the people that have money over there is politicians or drug dealers. Right. Definitely, right? You know, and it's been like that always, right? So, you know, when my family was first migrating here, right, you know, we used to get American dollars, and my father back then was a comedian, and then he turned into a politician. So I was very well off, right? I had everything in the world that I really wanted as a kid, except my father never lived with me, and my mother was over here, right? So I was raised with my grandfather, which I loved him dearly, right? However, I didn't have that motherly love, you know. For those old timers that don't understand, there used to be a show called Leave It to Beaver, right? You know, and I always wanted that family. I wanted that little brother and that little sister, right? You know, and I had that mother and father, and, you know, and the pink fence and shit and the dog and all that crazy good shit, right, that I used to watch on TV. That's the shit that I used to dream about, right? And I never had that, right? And finally, when my mother brought me over here from Dominican Republic and brought me to the United States, right? You know, my mother used to sell a lot of drugs in Miami, right? You know, so we used to travel back and forth from Washington Heights, which is in Manhattan, to Miami, right? And they used to always be selling drugs. So my sister and I, right, the oldest other girl, right? You know, we used to go to SeaWorld. We used to go all type of places, right? But then again, I wanted to be with my mother, and finally when I was with my mother, she was never fucking there, because she was always out, you know, trying to provide for me, so quote unquote. She was caught up in the lifestyle so bad, right, that I had babysitters, and I used to stay here, stay there. I was never with her. I didn't get that love, and I didn't get it. So when we finally moved over, because a tragedy happened in my family, we came over to Washington Heights again, right? So that was about the age of 10 going into 11 years old. I found that love that I was seeking as a child. I found that shit in the streets. So my story, right? My story is not a story. I didn't eat out of a garbage can. I didn't sleep under a bridge. I didn't do none of that. What I did do, right? I turned to the streets, which turned me to be something that I wanted to be once I was in love with them, right? You know, the streets taught me how to do every crooked shit there was, and the people that I was hanging out with showed me love. At that time, I thought that was love. And that's what I was searching for as a child. So by the time I was 11 years old, right, going into 12, you know, I already had a conviction. I went to do 3 years in prison, and I came home when I was 15 years old. And that's how my life really started. So as a child, 15 years old, when people wanted to be doctors, wanted to be firemen, wanted to be all this, I wanted to be a fucking gangster and the best criminal there was out here. Like, this is true story, right? You know, and it didn't stop. It didn't stop, and it continued on and continued on and continued on. And I'm telling you, it got so bad that I could not be out in the streets for more than a month and a half without going back to prison, because I grew up in prison. That's all I knew. That's all I knew. So incarceration played the biggest part of my life, right? Incarceration was the one that introduced me to heroin. In 1994, downstate correctional facility, right? Because I didn't want to smoke weed because it took too long to be in my system, and because in there they take your urinalysis, and if you come out dirty, you get locked up in there too. Locked up while you locked up, right? You go to the box or something else, right? So instead of me smoking weed, I said, you know what? I'm going to try this, because heroin lasts in your system between 2 to 3 days, you know, and I can flush the shit out, right? You know, so I experimented with that. And what happened was, I fucking loved it. I found the true love of my life. That gave me the confidence that I always needed. Because remember, through all this, and I'm saying, right, you know, rejection played a big part, right? And that rejection playing a big part, and then finding that love outside in the streets, right, and becoming that gangster that, you know, that I was portraying to be. Actually, I did become that person, because I was believing it till I became it, right? You know, but when I was alone by myself, right, I was a totally different person. When I was alone in a cell, and I used to watch a TV or something, I wanted to be fucking free. And I didn't know how to break this chain. And then when I came then I got introduced to heroin, right? You know, I caught that other confidence I didn't find with the homies. Because this shit gave me the boost of a lifetime. Like, I actually was tough. I was really tough. Like, all this shit that I really wanted to do, right? You know, it became a reality, right? So every time I came out to the streets, I had a amount source of resources, right? Because if I didn't have no fucking money, I'm taking your shit. That's the reality of it. Because I really didn't care about going back to prison. That's my home. So I was not scared of that, right? So my life revolved around that. In 2006, 2007, right? This is I came to Albany in 2004 after doing a 7-year bid, right? That's by the way, in case you guys didn't know, I've never been up there, right? That 7-year bid was a 28 months. I went upstate to do 28 months, and I came home 7 years later. So do not believe that because you're going to go upstate, I don't want to do this program and listen to that, I'm going to get a 1 or 3 or something. That's not fucking guarantee anything could happen in there, right? I went to do 28 months, and I came home 7 years later, and I came to Albany, New York, right? And when I came to Albany, New York, it was a fucking heaven for me, because everything was so slow for me, and I had this mindset of running everything fast, right? That it only took me about a month before I was on the run. I was loaded with drugs and shit, and it was so beautiful, right? You know, listen, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I told you, I'm not going to sit here and lie. You know, call your sponsor, right? Just because I have 5 years and 6 months does not mean that I didn't love heroin, or I didn't love the lifestyle. I fucking loved it. You know, I didn't like the shit that went on afterwards, right? You know, but I really was in love with this shit, right? So here it goes, right? So I came over here, I went on a run, you know, and then I got caught up. I came home for 2 days, right? I went back up. I caught a federal case while I was up there. Came home 2 days later. I got locked up. Even my grandmother got involved with that shit and got arrested, right, for a federal case, right? I still didn't learn. But when I came back out, I had a parole officer that told me, you know what? Because I kept fucking up. Yo, my motto was like, let me give him a dirty urine right off the rib so he could know how I am and I could break him down. Insanity, right? You know, if I go to my first visit and I give him a dirty urine, he's either going to be like, all right. And then if he's mad, I'll be like, well, I used while I was in prison. You know, that was my thought process, right? And it was an unending cycle, right? So at the end, after giving school one about, I don't even know how many urines, and my parole officer, I don't even know how many urines, right? You know, and then this is how I knew addiction would play a big part, right? Because drinking was not my shit, right? But the last time I remember him telling me, you have to go over there, right? But I didn't want to go because I knew I was dirty and he was just tired of me, right? So he said, you got to show up the following morning, right? Because I told him I couldn't pee. So that night, I remember that night, right? I came home and shit, and I was home chilling because I got to go there in the morning and shit, right? And somebody called me. It was his birthday. We had the bar, right? And I was like, nah, I'm not with that. I got to go to Peru in the morning. I don't fucking drink. But I took one drink, and the next thing I remember was 2 o'clock in the afternoon the following day. So I know addiction plays a part no matter what it is. No matter what it is, right? You know, anyway, he said, I'm not even going to lock you up. Give me 28 days and I'll bring it back out here. So I said, fuck, 28 days? I could do that in my head. So they sent me to this freaking program back then. It used to be Ultimate House, right? When it was open, right? And that 28 days turned into be fucking 7 months, right? Because I agreed to 28 days, and when it was time for me to leave, they said, well, listen, we want that you go over here, right? So they sent me to 820 River Street, right? And then when they sent me to 820, I had to go from the halfway house to the three-quarter house. It was a fucking shit show, right? However, what did happen there was I was introduced to recovery at one time or another. Because going through the programs and procedures, I didn't realize that, right? That, you know, there was people out there that had the same story as me and lived the same lifestyle, right? You know, but that also have changed their life. And so I thought I had it. So I ended up getting about 9 months in recovery, right? And I packed my shit and then I left, right? And I went to Arizona, right? Because I'm cured. I went to Arizona. And it only took me about a month or something because I was down there. I ain't got nothing on me and shit, nothing, right? You know, and I'm like, you know what? I've been clean for a while. They got some shit over here called tar, you know, and I never used it because in the East Coast, we don't have that shit. Let me try that shit. 2 weeks later, I was in the fucking road driving back from Arizona back to New York because I knew I was going to get arrested. And here's the thing. I'm not afraid of being arrested. But I know if I get arrested in New York, my family's going to take care of me. Arizona's a long motherfucking way to get a visit. That shit is far, right? So I'm not, listen, because I was a criminal doesn't mean I was stupid, right? You know, because I was an addict doesn't mean I'm stupid. We were the smartest people in the world, right? So I knew how this shit was progressing, right? You know, and I came back over here. And it didn't take long. I came back over here. 2 weeks later, I was already in the county jail, facing another felony. That's how my life cycle, right? So what happened is, after I came home again from this one, right? 2010. So 2010, my first day home, right? I get this brilliant idea. Let me rob my grandmother's neighbor, right? He sells drugs. It's justifiable to me. It's justifiable to me, right? I'm not going to get high or nothing. I'm just going to get some money, get on my feet, bam, 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 and then I'm good. What happens is, I robbed the motherfucker, but I wanted to be greedy, and I take his fucking TV too as well. So they see me walking out with the TV while the motherfucker's in there, right? So he's a drug dealer, I ain't got nothing to worry about, but he told on me, right? You know, I laugh at it now, but you know what? He helped me, right? So listen, but when I did all that, and I knew the cops were looking for me, I said, you know what? Let me do recovery. And that's exactly what I did. So in 2010, it's when I originally wanted to do recovery, right? And it's where I met my sponsor, right? My sponsor always told me, if you don't take care of your past, it becomes your present. Right? And this is the thing that they say around the rooms, right? Suggestions are always free. The only ones that you pay for is the ones you don't take. So I didn't take his suggestions, and when I had about 90 days to 4 months clean, I was picked up. And the first time in my life I was picked up while I was clean, and I ended up going upstate because of my criminal record. I'm a persistent felon, you know, so I went back upstate for 3.5 more years. However, these 3.5 years was beautiful because I had a sponsor and I was clean. And I never went to prison clean. So to me, it was a whole different world, man. You know, I was very spiritual. I was doing all type of shit, right? You know? And I came home November 7th. That was the last time I hit the state. November 7th, 2013. November 7th, 2013, right? I had it. I had 3 years. I had a sponsor. I got all the answers. New Year's Eve, right? New Year's Eve of going into 14, right? Because I had 3 years and change and shit in recovery, and I had a sponsor and everything, the fella's like, yo, let's go to the club, right? Mind you, I'm still hanging out with the same people and shit that was out there in the block. I just not using it and shit, right? Because I got the answers. I'm cured. So I went to a club. I didn't have a reservation. I didn't have shit, right? But when they, when 3, 2, 1, right? Everybody popping bottles, this and that, right? I told you I don't even drink, right? But they passed me the fucking bottle, and I didn't even think about it. With 3 years and something, in recovery, quote unquote, right? I didn't even think about it. I did not think about it. And I took a sip of that to celebrate the New Year's, right? And 5 minutes later, I was outside smoking weed. Right after that, just that one sip. Boom! Yo, let's go. We smoking, right? So, I didn't tell my sponsor. And I sure as hell was leaking a lot of water because I didn't want parole to get my motherfucking urine, right? And I guess what? I didn't tell none of you guys. You know why? Because I wasn't fucking connected. I had 3 years and something, and the only thing I had was a sponsor that I barely called him. You know what I mean? I barely called him. And I didn't know none of you guys because I was not coming to meetings at all. Right? So I didn't have no type of network. I didn't have nothing. Right? So I relapsed. Right? And I didn't tell nobody. Right? So what happens is, a secret is not a secret because you already know about it. So when it came to my birthday, right, which is March 11th, and that only took like 2 months, 3 months later, right, I said, fuck this, I'm going to celebrate. Because I was already dirty, so it's not like I'm relapsing. I'm just going back to the shit I left off before, right? You know what I mean? So I'm going to pick the shit that I wanted to do, right? So the day of my birthday, I decided I'm going to go out with a bang. And it just so happened I got to go to parole on the 12th, but I really didn't give a fuck. And my parole officer showed up at my house the same day of my fucking birthday. So I was fucked up walking out the back door. He was walking into the front door, so he calls me. He's like, Mr. Fernandez, it's 10:30, and I still remember that shit. It's 10:30 at night, and I'm in your living room. Where are you? And I didn't even pick that shit up. I just heard through his voicemail, right? And my excuse is like, I'm already caught. I might as well keep going. Fuck that, you ain't gonna ruin my party, right? So, I just kept partying all night, right? Because, like I said, I already told you what my love is. But that doesn't mean I discriminate, man. I don't discriminate, man. If I'm already partying and shit and everything, whatever's there, I'm going with it. As long as I got my main shit, everything else, just go with it. You know what I mean? So what happens is, I had a rude awakening, though, through that whole process. Because I had a little bit of faith, right? That this shit do work. So what I ended up doing the following day, said, I went in there and he was like, where were you? And I told him the whole truth. I said, I didn't go home. I didn't answer your phone because I was already fucked up, right? So I told him, listen, man, I don't really want to go back to jail. It was crazy, right? That's exactly, he was like, what? He's like, I don't want to go back to jail, man, and I know I'm about to catch another felony. I already went all out last night, you know what I mean? And he said, you know what? If you trust me, you trust me enough and shit that, you came and told me the truth. Now, trust me, let me lock you up for 30 days and I promise I'll change your life. And that was the best shit that I have ever done to this day, man. Because that man, what he did do, right, he ended up sending me the Hope House, right? So now I'm sharing this straight up like this and shit because I see a lot of newcomers in here, right? And I see a lot of people that's in treatment as well, right? But that's how my process started. I never had a long-term treatment, right? And I ended up going to Hope House, right? With this man right here, right? And listen, man, let me tell you, it was rough. Yes, it was rough. I'm not disputing this shit ain't rough, right? But I told myself when I was there, man, if I was really that committed to go snitch on myself, because I used to have those beliefs, right? Those bullshit beliefs and shit, right? To tell on myself, right? That means I wanted to go out another limb. That means I really wanted to live, right? So I had to change a lot of things, right? And I said, you know what? I'm not going to go through this struggle no more, right? If I don't pick up, they can't lock me up. And if I don't pick up, you have no control over me. And what I mean I mean the correctional officer, the parole, the fucking counselors. That's everybody included that was telling me when to go eat, sleep, and shit. Every night I was there, the counselor was telling me it's 10 o'clock, you gotta go to bed. Fucking motherfucker. Because you know why? I had a habit, right? And I still got it to this day, man. I love watching like ID channel for rented files, right? When I was there, every night, man, I used to go there and watch that shit late at night. I used to take my meds, whoop, right? Listen, I used to take my meds, right? And it was the routine, man. The date is over. We ain't got no chores. We ain't got to listen to nothing. Motherfucker, go over there and get paid for babysitting, right? So I go take my meds. I go inside a little room. I put for renting files. And then I nod out right there in the motherfucking TV. Woo! And then I go to bed when I want to. But there was some motherfuckers that wanted to be fucking RoboCop while you're working in a fucking treatment facility and want to tell me it's 10:01, you got to go to bed. I'm not bothering you. You know? So those type of shit right there was really pissing me off, right? That really used to get me mad, right? Because there was some shit that you could have waived the fucking fact, right? But it is what it is, though, right? Check it out, right? It is what it is, right? Because I did tell myself that, right? As long as I'm doing the right thing and I don't do nothing else, I will not put myself in a predicament where somebody else has to control my life. Right? And that's exactly what I did. So one time, and I'm going back to the meds, true story, right? I was taking my meds. And when I was in the med line, right? Y'all know about the med line, right? No, I was in the med line. I realized that, you know what? Everything was going good in my life, right? And I had nothing to worry about. Meaning, every time something good was happening to me before, I used to be like, damn, shit is going good. When something fucked up is going to happen? Huh? I say, right? Because that's true, man. But I realized that I was calling on that fucking bad shit to happen. Right? And I realized that when I was doing something and working on myself, right, that I wasn't afraid of nothing bad happening. Because guess what, right? If something bad happens, it's fine. It's fucking life, man. It's life. You know, we go through pain in life in order for us to grow. You know, we grow from our own experience and watching others too. Right? You know, not making the same mistake this person made, right? So, however, bringing forward, here's the hope, right? I ended up staying there 6 months past my graduation day. Because I was determined to leave out of there, right? And not go to a halfway house and not go nowhere else, right? I wanted to come out of there with a fucking job and I wanted to come out of there with a place to live. And that was my determination, right? And I ended up doing that, right? It cost me 6 months to be in there and suffer through all the pain, but I ended up doing it, right? And because I was determined, and it took 6 months because I had no fucking job experience and nobody wanted to hire me, right? Nobody wanted to hire me, right? But there was a guy that gave me a chance to do some fucking roofing, right? I never done roofing before, right? And there was the most craziest fucking job there, right? However, I used to be the most happiest person there. And people used to be like, why you come here so happy? And they didn't understand how grateful I was. I was grateful that somebody gave me an opportunity to fucking work, man. You know, and I used to do that every single day when I first started this process of recovery. I used to go there, work between 8 to 12 hours a day and come out of there and go to sleep in a fucking meeting. A lot of people that know me from there, I used to come out all dirty and everything and go right to a meeting. Guess why? Because I know how my mind works, and if I go home, I'm going to take a shower, and I'm like, fuck that, I'm too tired. But I know that the people that stay in these rooms, they make motherfucking meetings. Or they make meetings, no matter what it is. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck if it's A, N, A, whatever A, right? It doesn't matter. They're making something. They're doing something with their life that's going to bring them somewhere, right? You know, so I've watched the old timers, that's how they do it, right? Now, let me get this straight, right? Meetings is part of my life. It's not my life. 5 years later, I practice a thing called recovery to the fullest. To the best of my ability. It does not mean that I'm cured, right? It just means that what I'm learning here, I'm putting it out there. I'm not coming over here quoting books and reading scriptures and telling you how many step works I've done this and that. I'm practicing some shit that I'm able to practice. You know, I'm out there doing things. I'm trying to help individuals come out of this motherfucking thing, right? I'm trying to help individuals come out to the light because the light is there, right? So, bring it forward. I know I have a lot of time, right? All right. Go forward. Nowadays, right? Nowadays, I'm a recovery coach for a beautiful organization. I'm also an associate counselor for the same place that I had graduated from, right? And I left that place to become per diem. I became per diem, right? Because my job, it was getting too hectic. So I left the field of roofing and everything, right? And everything. But because of my consistency and my dedication, right? Nowadays, right? I don't even apply for jobs. Like I really don't. Even when I put my resignation in the same place right there, they was begging me to take it back. You know. Now this is an individual, like I told you, with, you know, I'm a persistent felon, which means I got over 3, right? You know, I'm a persistent felon and I have come all those terms, right? Like, I walked inside of a New York State prison. Now, mind you, I didn't tell you, I have over 22 years of incarceration altogether. 22 years of incarceration and 30 years of parole. 30 years and 30 days, because they added 30 days at the end, right? She would tell you, my significant other would tell you. They added 30 days because of delinquent time when he put me in there, right? And I was fine with it, right? So listen. While on parole and everything, I walked into New York State prison to go share. They requested me to go up and then share, right? I just finished parole. Listen to me. I just finished parole in December. Through all these years, people see me running around this and that, but they don't understand. When you see me running around, at 9 o'clock, I'm fucking home. I don't have nothing out here in the streets. What the fuck I got to do out here? I don't want to see you. That's the shit that I used to do. I used to miss the street. I used to miss what the shit was going on in the block. I don't do this shit no more. You know what I mean? My life consists of trying to help others. Because when I help you, I help myself. You know? And I'm going to say this to end it with this, right? I probably won't even end it. But no, I'm trying. You know, listen, man. If you're struggling today, if you're high today, you know, we are no different. We are no different. I'm telling you the truth, man. I swear to God, we are no different. There are days, especially in the summertime, when I get the sun beaming on me, right? You know, and the weather's right, and everybody's outside with the music pumping, you know, this and that. I'll be like, woo! A beer sounds fucking real good right now.
It does.
Oh, there are days when I just get a whiff or some smell or some shit like that, and I'll be like, damn, a bag of dope. Justice! However, I have shared this shit before, right? I don't remember, listen, and I never tell nobody, I don't remember my last run. Fuck my last run. Listen to me. Fuck your last run, right? They always tell you listen to your last run. No. Remember the struggles that you had while you was on the run. I have shared this before, and I have shared this over here, and in case you didn't hear me, I'm going to repeat it. Remember those, right? Remember the times when you had money and you couldn't cop. Everybody, right? Remember those times when you was fucking aggravated that he beat you and you went back again and still got more stuff from the motherfucker. Remember those times. Remember the times and shit where you had just this little bit of money, or you had like 5 bags and you was like, I need to save this shit for tomorrow morning, right? And then you wake up in the morning and you didn't fucking have it. Remember those times. Not your last one, because me tell you, your last one is never your last one. If you go back out, you're going to have another last one. And you might not even have another last one. You might just have another grave. You might just have a grave. You know what I mean? But if you're fortunate and you're sitting here today, right? Whether you have 1 day, you have 5 years, you have 10 years, we are all equal. Trust me when I tell you, you could walk out of here right now and die, or you could walk out of here, you could walk out of here and do some crazy shit, man. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, right? Whatever you hear from me, whatever you hear at this meeting, whatever you hear from the book, whatever you read, whatever your sponsor tells you this or that, if you don't practice it, don't mean shit. Don't mean shit. Say it again. It don't mean shit. Right? You know, we could all talk some good ones. Listen, ain't no more cons in this whole fucking room right here. There ain't. We know how to get a way around. All you got to do is just give us the right opportunity. And if we can't get it from you, we're going to get it from him. But we're going to get it one way or another. You know. And I did say I was going to end it with that, right? Now, I'm going to end now so people can share, man. I think I went over my limit, man. But listen, man, thank you guys.